I came to faith through my job at Logos Academy, and I unknowingly embarked on my faith journey over the last 5 years. I've faced the hardest times of my life after I found God, not before. And I think that's a little ironic, but I don't know how I would have navigated it without him or the community that we've built in the last 5 years or so. So everything happens for a reason. Soon after, I fell pregnant for the first time, and soon after I lost that baby. We didn't even really have time to process that I was pregnant. I think I found out I was pregnant, and then a day later I miscarried. And then probably about 4 months after that, I found out I was pregnant for the second time. We had confirmed the pregnancy through blood tests and ultrasound. We saw heartbeat, and things were great. I was about 10 weeks pregnant when we went in for our dating ultrasound to find out the exact due date of the baby, and there was no heartbeat. We were devastated. That was, I'm already getting emotional. It was a Friday, and we were told the news. That is the first time in our marriage we've really had to process grief together, and we grieved very differently. I'm an open book and shared all of my feelings and probably talked very openly about what was going on, and he was the exact opposite. He went to work that day.
It was kind of an unspoken, she understood that I was grieving in my own way, and I understood that she was grieving in her way.
I knew he was hurting, but just very differently. So I felt like for a little bit we were processing our grief alone. I felt very isolated. I was so angry at God. I will never forget. I was like, I've committed to my faith. I've committed to serving God, and I've committed to this journey, and it hasn't been easy for me. And I just feel like he's not meeting me anywhere, and he's nowhere to be found. I felt abandoned. And so I said to Ryan, I'm just gonna take a break from church for a while. Somebody who wouldn't go to church with me up until this point looked at me and said, no, that's not what we're doing here. And begrudgingly, I went. We got in the car Sunday, and Aaron actually spoke about grief and loss and anger at God around the holidays. In all of that turmoil, it just kind of felt like everything came full circle in that moment. And that even though things weren't going the way we wanted them to, he was still leading us to him. 2 years ago, almost to the day, I found out I was pregnant with Lillian. When you find out that you're pregnant, it's typically like a very joyous, happy, celebratory time. And for us, it was the complete opposite, because I truly didn't know if I could go through another loss. Culmination of grief. I felt like this whole journey, even up to having Lily, while it was everything we could have ever prayed for, it was full of grief. I grieved the loss of the 2 children before her. And then she gets here. She's amazing. I thought that hard season is over. Everything is gonna go back, now we can move on. Now I can heal from that part of my story and move on. We're probably at June. I was back now full time, and she was fantastic. She was sleeping through the night. It wasn't sleep deprivation. It wasn't anything that had to do with the baby. And I just could not figure out why I was so incredibly sad. And nothing felt right. And I remember I need another tissue. In the parking lot at work, I felt like I was such a burden to my husband because I couldn't get my feelings under control, and that I had to put my daughter in daycare, and so I was just a selfish mother, and I couldn't do anything right. I felt like my family would be better off if I was no longer here. And I remember sitting in the car and thinking about all the ways that I could end my life without my husband having to find me. Literally remember saying, God, what do I do? And said, call your husband. And I said, he's not going to answer the phone, because at this point in time, he was so busy trying to catch up from paternity leave that he was not able to answer the phone a lot of the time. He answered on the first ring. And I told him everything and he said, you need to come home, take the rest of the day, we're gonna figure this out. And by the grace of God, he helped me get the help that I needed to start my healing journey. And at the time, I didn't realize it, but now looking back, I know that that was God talking to me. And he met me right where I needed him most, because I truly believe that if I hadn't embarked on this journey 5 years ago, that I probably would have ended my life that day, and my daughter would be without a mom, and my husband would be without his wife. I know that God's not a genie. You can't just pray and that everything's gonna happen and be beautiful. And this healing journey has taken me, a year. And I'm still working towards it. God helped me accept what was hard. And knowing that I could rely on him in the darkest days and just look for him. Even if I didn't think he was there, hindsight's always 20/20. I look back and I know he was right in front of me the whole time.